Welcome to the Homeschool Together podcast. Where one working mom and a stay-at-home dad help you navigate the nuts and bolts of the growing and dynamic world of homeschooling.
With a focus on early learners, like me.
All the ins and outs of building and maintaining your homeschool life.
Homeschool.
Find out tips and tricks to make things like this easier.
I'm reading.
And ultimately, enjoy educating your kids. And what's that last thing?
Have fun together. Did I do good, Daddy?
Yeah, you did, sweetie. Good job. Thank you so much for hitting play on the podcast. We are Homeschool Together, and if you have a chance, head down into the show notes below. My wife is shocked because I changed up the intro. I could see it on her face right over the shoulder here.
Keeping it fresh, man.
Keeping it fresh. And if you could help us and support the podcast, there are links down below on how to do that. But one of the best ways to do that are share episodes like this, our first year homeschooler podcasts.
Yep. No, if you can, do something as simple as an Apple podcast review, we read them all. They bring a smile to our faces.
Yes. In the winter, we read them with our little silicone cups of wine in our inflatable hot tub. And we read them and we look up to the stars and we think about you as you left that review.
Yeah. Very nice. We appreciate all the kind words, and if
they know. If you've listened to enough podcasts, they know Matt was not lying.
Oh,
That's
yeah, we totally do have the inflatable hot tub.
Totally true story.
Yeah, very, very deluxe. So if you aren't listening on Apple Podcasts, we totally get that. Tell a friend, tell somebody who's thinking about homeschooling. If you see something on Facebook where someone's, especially now, this is the time of year where we're all looking for curriculum. If you see someone posting about, gosh, where can I find secular curriculum? You know the place. It's the Homeschool Together Secular Resource Database, which we're continuing to build. We're going to continue to grow that. We want it to be the best resource we can make it. So, tell someone about it and definitely give your suggestions for things that you would like us to add or, places where we don't have enough. It's still quite small and we are going to grow it just as much as we can, but it's a big wide world out there. There's actually a lot more in secular curriculum than I realized when we started it, which is great because it means that we're getting more and more options. So we appreciate your support.
Absolutely. And we're starting to backfill those curriculum reviews on the YouTube channel. So check that out as well. We're trying to drop one every week. Sometimes life gets in the way and that happens, but we're trying about every week put one out. Today we were talking about our interviewing our first year homeschoolers. And I know you're sitting back there going, man, there hasn't been any interviews for a while. Boom. You better hold on to your butts because we got a bunch of interviews coming out, especially the like today where we have a wonderful homeschooling family out of Colorado. And they had a one and done family there. So they're a single homeschooling family and they did their first homeschooling year this year as pre-K and then transitioning into K level. And it was absolutely a great trip for them. Really cool to hear about kind of the challenges of coming out of COVID, challenges of finding your tribe, finding resources and activities for you to do. So if you're out there and you're thinking about homeschooling, this is a great episode to we talk a lot about that with Melissa Mullins.
Yeah, it was really great to talk with Melissa. And I think one of the things I really appreciated was that we really got to focus on preschool and pre-K because we don't usually, right? We usually our first year homeschooler, they've done a kinder year, maybe they've done a first grade year. We've talked with somebody who's gone outside of that, but it's true that, starting in preschool totally counts as your first year of homeschooling. And especially she used some curriculum for her preschool years, which isn't everyone's jam. Some people are like, no, don't touch curriculum. Some people really need, I just kind of need like the idea generator of curriculum just to get the juices flowing for me so that I don't have to think of everything on my own. And she used 3 different preschool curriculums over the last year here. And so it was really fun to hear from her about like, okay, well, I tried this. And actually she did playing preschool for a couple years before, but her pre-K year is what she kind of called her first official year. She used a couple of curriculums. So it was fun to focus on that pre-K year as a legitimate first year to start, because I think some people feel like that's not really their first year. It's not official till it's kindergarten, and I don't think that's true. I think that we make our own rules in this homeschool world. Well,
and especially those first year homeschoolers, we get a lot of people who are starting in these kind of pre-K, K level years, and I think a lot of people do this because it's a low risk, because we always know, okay, if it doesn't work out, we can maybe go back to the schools, find a public school, find a private school, whatever that might be. With the pre-K and the K years, I really feel like it's a great testing ground to see if this is something that works out for your family. I know A lot of us may not have that luxury. We may be transitioning out at second or third or fourth grade, or maybe even higher. Obviously, that's not true for those grades, but for a lot of families that are starting to think about homeschooling, thinking about those pre-K years as kind of the way of testing out curriculum, testing out learning styles, testing out yourself as an educator. I think we talked a lot about this today, and Melissa gave a lot of great insight into like her first year, a lot of the challenges, a lot of the fears. We talk about it all, and I love these episodes because it can really help motivate you and kind of demystify that kind of that first year homeschooling. So if you have a chance, hang in there. We're going to go start talking with Melissa Mullins.
Hi, Melissa. Thanks so much for joining us today.
Hello. Thanks for having me.
Well, we're super excited to hear all about your first homeschooling year, but let's start at the beginning. Tell us a little bit about your family and why you all decided to homeschool.
Yeah, my family and I are in Colorado. So it's myself, my husband, and my daughter, who is 5. And I feel like our homeschool story will be familiar to a lot of people. I hadn't really planned on homeschooling. I wouldn't really say it was something I had thought about before the pandemic. But when that started, I was home, 24/7 with a toddler, and I started looking for stuff to do with her. And also at the time, I wasn't comfortable sending her anywhere, like to school. And I just needed that extra thing to give our days something to kind of anchor around and have some direction. So I don't know many people who were homeschooled, but I feel like the community and the options available now are so different, like from even when I was younger. And I think it's becoming much more of a normal, quote unquote, normal option now. So we have just taken each year as it comes. I mean, last year was really technically our first year, but it's going really well for us so far.
Did you have any like preconceived notions around homeschooling, like before you had children, like homeschoolers are weird and things like that? Did you have anything weird that you had to overcome in making this leap into homeschooling?
Yeah, I think the biggest one was how we were going to meet people, how we were going to find community. I think in my mind, most homeschoolers that I had ever met were very religious or came from just a conservative background. And so before I started researching and really looking into this option, I was not aware of the options that were out there for us. And so that was like a pleasant surprise.
So when you first started and you're like, okay, you weren't ready to do this, where did you start? Like, how did you jump in? And I mean, I feel like the first time you research into the homeschooling world, it can be really overwhelming. There's so much stuff there. So what was that process like for you to find a starting point?
Well, when I was a kid, my parents had me in a Montessori school. We lived in Germany for a couple years, and my mom always, like still to this day, talks about how much she loved it and loved that style. And so when my daughter was young, I started kind of looking into and researching Montessori, and I started incorporating some of those elements into our home, like things to help foster independence and that sort of thing. I think my daughter was around 2 at the time when we started doing that. And I did try some of the Montessori like learning activities, and I did like a lot of them. It just wasn't quite the right fit for us to do like full Montessori school at home. And my mom and my sister were actually doing playing preschool, that curriculum, with my nephew. And I'd seen a lot of the activities they were doing, and they seemed fun and like really accessible, not a lot of prep work. And so we actually just started with that one because I had seen some of it before.
Yeah, we used that for a bit too, and we really liked it. It's got quite a bit of structure to it, so I really felt like, wow, like you could almost use this in a preschool classroom. This had so much to it, but I love the way that that's put together. So, what was that experience like for you? Saying like, okay, well, playing preschool, great starting point. but now I'm not just mom, but I'm educator too. What was that transition like?
Yeah, I think that it kind of happened pretty naturally, at least for us. So we started doing the playing preschool actually when my daughter was 2.5. And so that's like the youngest age I think they recommend for that curriculum.
Mm-hmm.
And so I didn't really have any like expectations or really wasn't even thinking of it as homeschool at that time. I just thought of it more of we need some things to do. And so we did that year one playing preschool, and then we followed it with the year two of playing preschool just because we loved it so much. And so I think it was somewhere in the middle there of like, okay, we're doing this. Like, should we keep going with this? Like, it's going well. We're both having fun. Like, it's helping, give our days some structure. And this was just like really right in the middle of the pandemic. And so it just really helped to have that kind of structure in our days. And so I guess that I did think about like, oh, I guess I'm homeschooling. I'm a teacher now. And it just sort of, I don't know. I just went with it. And I think, it helps that preschool is pretty low stakes.
Yeah,
Can't really mess it up.
No.
And yeah, so we just kept going.
So where did you head after playing preschool? What was kind of your next curriculum step?
Yeah, so after we finished both year one and year two, then I was thinking, okay, now I really need to, decide what we're going to do. I need to, I really did love those curriculums. They were great. And she really liked them too. But I was researching what to do next. There's not a year three of playing preschool. So I think that is really when I started like researching a lot, looking at the different curriculums. I think that's actually when I first came across your podcast, as I was listening to a lot of your curriculum reviews. So I ended up doing, I think what a lot of us do is I couldn't find one that I liked. So I was piecing together.
I know nothing about this.
Right. So I ended up doing a couple different things. I got Blossom and Root early years 2, and I got Torchlight Pre-K. And I started with the plan. Of course, there was a plan. The plan didn't work, but I started with the plan to do the Blossom and Root early years first, and then follow it with the Torchlight Pre-K, because I had heard, that the Torchlight Pre-K was maybe geared a little bit older.
Mm-hmm.
And so we started out our pre-K year using Blossom and Root. And I do really like that curriculum. I think after we had done 2 years of playing preschool, it was maybe a little too gentle for us. And my daughter just was not meshing with the, artist study and the classical music and things. I thought it was great, but she was like, no. And so
our first loved the music and the art, and then our second didn't. And so
it was like, no,
no, I'm like, totally understand.
She's like, turn that off, Mom. This is no. So I ended up actually combining the two together instead of doing one after the other, just to kind of add more for us. So that's what we ended up doing for the rest of the year. So I kept some pieces of Blossom and Root early years too. I think the one thing that I liked the most that worked for us the most was keeping the nature study. We did the nature journal portion. Both of us, my daughter and I, are not huge outdoor people, like naturally. And so having that, task on our list of like, well, the nature journal says, so we have to go outside and look at a tree today. Like we have to go out. So it just gave us that extra push that we needed sometimes. We kept, I think, like the cooking portion of Blossom and Root too. And there was a few other things, but ended up adding the Torchlight pre-K. And we liked a lot of things about that one too. The emotional intelligence portion really was good. My daughter really liked that. When I asked her what her favorite part was, she said the feelings book.
It's a good book.
I know your feelings, yes.
And the book list was great too from Torchlight. So we stuck with that combo for our year. And then we also went ahead and started with Logic of English, the Foundations A, and Kindergarten Math with Confidence were our other two that we added.
How were both those curriculums? We actually haven't used both of those. I mean, I think we touched on it a little bit, but we never did them as our full curriculum. Has it been good for you guys?
Yeah. So far it's going well. We got about halfway through both of these books and for our pre-K year, since she was just in pre-K and they're both kindergarten level. I did not really worry about finishing them. We didn't rush through them. We kind of took a slow pace. I alternated the days that we did them. And so we got about halfway through, which is totally fine with me. So we're going to just continue them and finish them. I like both of them so far. The Logic of English, you can choose, it has handwriting in it too. And so you can choose to do the manuscript or the cursive. And so we went with the cursive. And I don't know that she was quite ready to start writing cursive when we started, she was 4.5. But she tried and we're getting there. And the Kindergarten Math with Confidence, I really like too. It's got a lot of little fun games, and it doesn't have very much like prep that you have to do or things you have to gather. It has just like a little kit that you put together with supplies, and then you just pull that out. And so it's very easy to use, both of them, I thought.
Yeah, that sounds very lightweight in some respect. Yeah.
Yeah. And it was a good intro. Like, I'm not sure, we'll just see how it goes, if we'll need to make any adjustments or pivot. But yeah, I plan to just keep going and finish those and then see how we do.
You touched on your curriculums. Could you touch on a little bit, like, what does an average day look for you guys? I know you may be busy doing activities and things and whatnot, but like, what does your typical day look like for, a new homeschooler, first year homeschooler?
Yeah, we're very exciting.
We all are.
My husband works from home. And so usually we have breakfast together and then he heads off to work. And I found that jumping into doing school right away is a good time for us. We don't lose attention. And so we started this past year for our pre-K doing a morning basket. And that seems to have worked well for us too. We just had a lot of the Torchlight books, like the Feelings book and the, Breathe Like a Bear. And we did do a daily nature poem book. And another one I found that I really liked, it's called The Little Book of Joy, which is just like each day has like an interesting fact about that day or like just different topics. It was just kind of a cute book to do. My daughter also is a workbook kid. She likes workbooks. So we would do, mazes or Brain Quest or, Kumon books, those type of things. And so after that, we'd usually jump into math or reading. We would usually alternate days. So like one day we'd do reading and the next day we'd do math. And then we'd read our book. And then we'd pick an activity that we were in the mood for that day. I like to put everything into Trello. And so I'd have like all our stuff for the week, but still so I could easily move it around. So, some days I could tell we would be able to, rock an art project, or she wanted to cook or do science experiments. So we'd have like the weekly checklist, but then be flexible about what day we would do which thing. And some days we also have extracurriculars during the day. So we typically would finish up most of our things by lunchtime, and then we'd have time in the afternoon for, playing and extra projects or outings or things. So my background is in the arts, so I can do arts and crafts all day long. My husband does not actually do any of the teaching, but with him at home, it's nice because he can pop in and see what we're doing, and he does get involved with some projects too. I teach dance part-time, which is evenings and weekends. So my husband kind of takes over for those times, but he can easily like grab some reading to do with her, or they are both of them are more into like the Legos and the building, so they work on those type of, shared interest projects. They like the engineering type of stuff. So that is nice that they can do that together. And then I also have to shout out my parents, because most of the weeks, my daughter would spend one day a week at grandma and grandpa's, and they also would take on, like, I would give them a school project or two, and they would do that with her. And they also do lots of like cooking and gardening and things with her too. So that's awesome.
We also use the grandparents similarly. We have one set of grandparents who we can just like send books and say they need to do these 4 pages, and it comes back and they're all done. And your mom's also like, and we played some word games, and we did this, and we did some math, and they helped me measure. And she like does even extra, which is like so appreciated.
It's very nice.
Thank you for supportive grandparents.
Yes, love to see it.
And getting the nice days off. You mentioned that you kind of have a side job and you work in the evenings. Is that hard to manage for you? Shifting from one thing to the other, or balancing the requirements for preparation for those events or whatnot? Is that a challenge for you? What is that like, having a second job? I do not. So, and I'm kind of like looking at possibly doing some.
This is your second job.
This is my second job, but yeah,
I think so.
I'm looking for a third job, and
I get that.
One that actually pays. She doesn't give me. I don't get much allowance. I do all the chores. I don't get any allowance here. Not even a few dollars at the end of the week.
Paid appreciation.
But I might get a little gig as teaching, potentially, doing a class or two here or there. What's that like for you?
I love it. I'm the same way. I'm like, I have some time. Maybe I need a third thing. I do better when I am busy and I can, schedule everything and plan everything. That's how my brain works. And so, it is not, I don't find it too hard. And it's not, like, I don't want to say it's not that much of a time commitment. I do spend time, and I focus on it when I need to at home. Like there's some stuff I have to do. I help run a dance team. And so there's like some admin things and time I spend working on it at home and preparing for class. But the time when I go and like actually leave the house and go, I found that I really need that. Like that's really good for me to have that time like to myself and kind of have my own thing that I do outside of, being mom, being the teacher. So it's been, I think I've realized, because I did take some time off and, with the pandemic and things, we didn't have as much going on. And so now being back into it, where I'm going and doing it, dancing like 2 or 3 times a week, I think that I've realized it's really good for my mental health and my physical health and all the things to have that separation, that thing that's mine.
Yeah.
So you mentioned you have some extracurriculars. What, outside of the home and the school, what type of activities are you doing with your daughter on, co-ops, meeting other kids, socialization, all the things that people worry about with respect to homeschooling? What are you doing in those terms?
Yeah, we've tried a few different extracurriculars. Currently, we are doing gymnastics and swimming. And I think, right now it's the summer, there's a lot of things that are not meeting. So we may, once we get into the fall, look at doing some other things or trying some other things. we live on the south side of Denver in the suburbs. So if anyone is from that area, they will know this is considered the more like conservative side of Denver. So sometimes it is challenging to find secular options for meetups and things. It's not impossible. We have met some people there's like some secular homeschooling groups on Facebook for our area and things like that. But that is something that is a big focus for me for this upcoming year, is finding more opportunities for her to not just meet with other kids, but have like maybe a more consistent group that we meet with. So looking into a co-op or, and I think, now that she's getting a little older, she'll be 5.5 this fall. And so things like, maybe looking into Girl Scouts or things like that, where we can kind of start to find that community or consistent group that we can meet with and really make friends.
And doesn't Colorado have quite a few charters, right? Am I right in that? There's like charter schools there for homeschool?
Yeah, there's a few different options here. So we have there's some parent-run co-ops. There's like what they call umbrella schools, and they're like kind of independent schools. And then they also do like a dual enrollment option where you can go I think it's like once or twice a week where you go, it's like to the public school, like a public school. And so some of them require testing, reporting, and then some you don't have to. You have to just follow the guidelines of that specific school. So for Colorado, you don't have to file your intent to homeschool until age 6. And then you don't have to actually report anything until age 7. So I will be researching that for next year.
Yeah. So speaking about your next year, going into what, quote unquote kindergarten. I know grades don't matter at this point, but so what are you thinking? You said you're going to continue with logic of English. You like math with confidence. What are you going to do for your social studies stuff? Like, what's your plan?
We're going around the world.
Woohoo! Yeah, we love it.
We love it. We're about to do part 2.
Ask us all your questions.
Yes. We are doing it. I'm going to use Build Your Library 0 as our main curriculum. And then I probably will do the Torchlight. I don't think I'm going to do the full combination.
Long road.
Probably,
The long road.
probably just grab it for the book list. But I also got the Homeschooled Together resource guides.
What?
There's your plug.
Thank you very much.
Hey, tell us more about how awesome those are.
Matt's been a long time working on those.
Yeah, they're great. I have planned out our first, I don't know, 6 or 8 weeks. I can't remember.
Nice.
And loving them so far, especially the extra links for the videos and everything. So I'm excited. We're going to do, the cooking and the art and the music. And I'm actually working on, because I have no chill and I needed a third thing to do. I'm working on a project of putting together music playlists for each country.
Yeah, we want to see that.
I thought about doing that, but I was like, especially the music of the region, famous artists and all that. I thought about that. I started doing that about 3 years ago, and I was like, this is such a big project. I when it's done, send us a version of it.
Yeah. Well, because we're wondering what extra thing, and having done this, once and now going twice, what extra resources would people need? Where maybe we'll do some biome stuff, or I don't know, but music is a great one.
Yep.
Yeah, and that's I don't know. I think because I love music and dance and all those pieces, and so that's just something I'm of course I need to include all these artists and I like everything. So it's one of those projects that I'm going to spend so much time on, and then I bet my daughter will not care at all about, but that's okay.
We like to just ask Google, hey Google, please play some music from Morocco or whatever.
Right.
And it does. And that's as far as we got. But I love the idea of
I love
a
it.
well thought out curated music list. That sounds awesome.
I love it.
Well, if I finish it, I'll post it in the Facebook group or something.
Please.
Oh, that would be awesome.
Please.
That would be awesome. I encourage you to get to those, like, because, Denver's going to have some international grocery stores and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's the most fun. We love to go shopping for the snacks. To put together your own Yum box. That's the deal.
I think that will be really fun. I think we'll do some of that too, for sure.
Well, that sounds like it's going to be really fun.
Yeah, I think my daughter will like I know that the science portion of the Build Your Library is the animal study, and she's super into animals. So I think she'll be really excited. And we are also going to be doing the Blossom and Root kindergarten science, which is the outer space
space
study.
science.
Yeah, we're going to do that too at some point. Once we gotta get into the school year and see how crazy that is. But
All our classes and
we
everything.
don't have any science on either the girls' schedules this year, so we need to do some science. And that is such a good study. I love that
It's
study.
a good science. You'll love it.
I'm very excited for that. And my daughter's really excited. When we talked about what we're going to do, and she's like, we're studying outer space, right? It's really important. Really excited about it.
Time to build your giant cardboard rocket ship.
Yes, yes. And get the astronaut outfit from Target.
Yes.
They have a giant spaceship at IKEA made out of cardboard. Just
Ooh.
FYI for people.
Nice to know. Nice to know. Well,
Uh-huh.
and there's trips to the planetarium and all kinds of things you can do. That I'm very excited for us to do
I
space
didn't
as
know
well.
about the IKEA spaceship. We're gonna
I
have to
did
figure
not
out
know
this.
either. Now, next time we're at IKEA, I guess someone's coming home with us.
Mhm.
Ooh, the kids would love that.
I'll
for
put the link.
Christmas.
I'll put the link in the show notes. It's probably on their website.
Yeah,
Hopefully,
they-
hopefully it's still there.
yeah.
We got it. We have it. We bought it. I think it was in February. So hopefully it's still there.
My favorite thing ever to do is to give the kids Christmas presents that are actually homeschool presents, and they don't know it.
Yeah, that
So-
was a birthday present.
Yeah, because they look at it. Sometimes it's funny because our younger daughter, she's only 5, she doesn't get it. But our older, like last Christmas, she'd open something. She opened a book and she'd look at me. She goes, "This is part of a curriculum.
This for homeschool.
How are we
Oh,
planning on
no.
me using this?" I'm like, "Oh,
Too old. She's figuring it out.
Yeah.
She's on to you.
she's sentient. This is not good." So we're talking about stuff. We're talking about things to get for kids. What are some of your favorite things to use in your homeschool? What are things you couldn't live without?
I think the most used things for our homeschool, I mean, number one would obviously be the library. Can't live without that one.
Word.
Our printer. I do love organizing. So,
Oh, okay.
and we have kind of a dedicated space for homeschool, but it's not very large. So without my bins and my shelves, I would not be very happy at all. So we also love a good subscription box. And our favorite one, I think would be the KiwiCo.
Mm-hmm.
It's a good one.
Love that one.
It's a great one. It was so
Yeah.
good.
I actually think our little one would really like that.
She would adore that. It's a
We
good
can
point.
talk to Grandma about getting that as a Christmas present.
present.
Mhm.
No, the Kiwi one has been great. And does she like the engineering and the science aspects of those? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I
our
think
little
I
one
think
would like
it's it's really good. We just recently, because we were doing the one for the younger kids is the koala crate.
Mhm.
And then she just recently graduated to the Kiwi crate. So it is
That's
a little
exciting.
more advanced. They've been a little challenging,
Mhm.
but she's liking them.
Well,
And
they're so fun to play with afterwards too.
Yeah.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
really are.
They go, oh, it's a toy that comes in the mail.
exactly.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
just like a fun surprise too.
Mhm.
I'm looking to see if I can add another one, maybe just to kind of go with the around the world.
Universal
Looking.
Yums.
Yeah, I'm looking around. We've got some options. There's one I found that looks kind of cool. It's called Letters from Afar.
Yep,
Have
we
you heard
did
that
that one.
one?
Mhm. And
Did you like that one?
they're beautiful letters. So they've got their
The artwork is amazing.
Yeah, beautiful artwork, and is telling the story about being in this place. It's great if it can match up with where you're studying.
Mhm.
It's not always going to, obviously, but you can then save the letters. So if you started collecting, you could hold on to them. Our kids just weren't as engaged. It was just to them, it was like reading another book.
Mhm.
So that one wasn't as big. Yums we really liked because they're all about the food. And I find that typically those boxes are good for 4 to 6 months. I usually looking at the expiration dates on all the snacks. So I feel like I can get them and then hold them. I'll probably be somewhere in there and be able to pull them out. So we had done Scotland and I had the UK box that I'd saved. We're doing France this week for the Olympics and I had saved the France box. So I was like, cool, just pull that out and we'll do that. So
yeah, but it's hard to align the two. Like
you can't predict it. You don't know when you're going to get whatever. But it is exciting. We can align it.
Yeah, the Kiwi box is a good reminder. Yeah, we should get back into that one.
Well, yeah, and it's just I love getting subscription boxes from the grandparents because it's really hard when especially with homeschool stuff, and we know having not quality things and what those are like, and then having quality things like, you'll tell grandma like, hey, the kids would love some magnet tiles, and they heard magnet tiles and they'll buy like cheap ones where the magnets will fall out and there's choking hazard. Okay. And so I feel like subscriptions are easy because you can just send them the link and say, this is a great thing. And then your grandkid will get this every month and every month they will think of you. Like your mom used to do the highlights magazines and the kids like really,
thing for her, yeah.
They loved getting those every month. And so I think those are a very rewarding gifts for the grandparent sets to, get
Yeah,
into.
definitely.
Do you do stackable crates? What does your area kind of look like when you're like storing your books? Is it just like a table of crates or do you have some weird, cube stacking system or something like
Rolling
that?
carts?
No,
Rolling
I mean
carts?
our homeschool area is like in our dining room that we don't use as a dining room.
Same.
We are
So,
too.
We've
Yeah.
never actually eaten on that table, I don't think, unless somebody's over visiting.
So I just have a shelf with all our books and our games, and I have a gigantic one of the big IKEA Kallax shelves, the cubes.
The cubes
And
are
I
so
got
good.
I got the bins, and yeah, we're just using those for now. And it's one of those where every couple of months I'm like, all right, everything's coming out, and I got to declutter, but that's all right.
So you mentioned the G word. So what's your favorite game of the moment?
I am very excited because I feel like my daughter's finally getting old enough that she'll play the game correctly, or like at least attempt to. Before I was like, let's play games, and she just do whatever she wanted to do. Today we played. There's one that's called Koala Capers, and we've had this one for a while. It's like pattern matching. And so you roll the dice and then you have to find little outfits that you dress little koalas in that have that pattern. I think they have one for colors too. Yeah, it's a really nice like preschool game. She likes Zingo.
Zingo's good.
Yep.
That like bingo game. And there's one, it's like a dinosaur one, Dinosaur Escape.
Yep.
Peaceful Kingdom.
Yep. We have that one.
Yeah. We like those kind of cooperative style games.
If you don't have Hoot Owl Hoot yet.
We do.
Oh yeah, that's the
good
stuff. And you're getting close to the age. I think one of the first ones that our daughter could play was a little bit more advanced that we really like to play was Dragomino, because it's just color matching. And so and then they get to flip over and see if there's an empty egg or a little baby dragon. And that was always that's a big key.
Dragomino is a good one because it's kind of a gateway into playing King Domino and other tile-based games.
Tile-laying games. Yeah. But it's all really just color matching.
Yeah.
But our daughter loves Dragomino.
Yeah, that's a good one.
That's a really good one.
The other one we got recently is Monza.
Oh, I heard really good things about that from it's gonna escape my mind, but Hava makes Monza.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's supposed to be like a race car game.
It's a race car game and it is color matching, but it's like you have to plot out your path based on the dice that you roll. So like if you get a red and a green and a blue, like you have to see if you can, which path can use the most of your colors. So it's like you really have to kind of look a couple steps ahead, which is a new skill that we're working on.
No, I like that. It's thinking forward and starting to build strategy and all that. That's a good skill to learn. Okay, we'll have to take a note on that one. Yeah.
So as you're thinking about coming into this next year, you're going to be going around the world. You're going to continue with math and with your reading. have you established what you're thinking about as your goals for this, like the end of our kindergarten year, kind of like we at the beginning of each year, we're kind of thinking like, okay, where do we want to see them be at the end of this? Have you kind of thought about what you're hoping for?
Yeah, I think that my my hope is just that we can find the right like flow for us for the year, and that we have as fun of a time that we did when we did pre-K. I think that um we we plan all these things. I'm like such a planner type person, and I have all these like ideas of things that I want to do, and it's hard, like the FOMO sometimes of like, oh, I could try this other thing that I heard about, but like you sometimes just have to make a decision and go with it. But I want to be able to remain flexible and like for myself so I can follow what she wants to do and what she needs, and not just kind of force something because I want to do it or like I planned this thing. And so just being open to see what we need to do to have like the most successful time together. I think it's really what I keep reminding myself. I think also the piece that I want to focus on too is just that extra, finding that those community opportunities, or finding more ways to socialize a little bit more. I mean, I know there's a lot of things out there that we just haven't tried yet. And with her being an only child too, that's something that I do worry about it. I think about it and, kind of have that in the back of my mind of like, oh, okay, we need to have some good friends. And so that is something I do want to focus on too for the year.
No, I agree with that. With our youngest, she's been more of a tag along for so long with her sister's friends. And it'll be really nice this coming year for her to develop her own little friend network as opposed to, tagging them, being always the younger one with her older sister.
Yeah.
I think that's, finding her own paths. I'm right with you, trying to find her own friends and get her own play dates and get her own regular schedule is a big one for me this year.
I think so too. Yeah. So finishing this first year, your first kind of full year doing homeschool, what if you had to look back, what do you think was like maybe the biggest challenges and things that you had to overcome this year?
I think for this past year, it was really the first year that we were like out and about and trying to do stuff, which it seems like it was a long time ago now, and also not really that long ago. I don't know. It's time means nothing, I guess. But like, we were stuck at home for so long, and we were just not, really doing any activities or any extra things. And so last year we really kind of jumped in and we did a lot of things. We were, we were doing dance, we were gymnastics, we were swimming, we were out doing things. And I think while it was fun, it was good. I think finding a balance with that, maybe kind of picking and choosing like our top favorite things that we want to keep doing, and a little bit more like focus on what we really want to get done versus just like, oh, let's try this new thing. I think it was fun that we were able to try. And we do have a couple things that we are planning on using or trying for the fall, but just making sure we don't like overschedule, because part of the reason that I really love homeschooling is like the flexibility and having that ability to kind of make our own schedule. And so I don't want to get us stuck in like, well, we have this really strict schedule that we have to follow now.
Yeah.
No, I understand.
And it's really hard because people think like homeschoolers don't have a lot going on, but we actually can have so much more going on because we don't have school getting in the way. So we can do all these other things, and it's so easy to want to give them all the opportunities and do all the extracurricular. Well, we don't know. What if we don't have her play soccer? We won't know. Maybe she loves soccer. If we don't have her take violin, well, she could be an ex-violin virtuoso. You just like constantly.
Just layering new things on on top of each other. It could be,
Absolutely.
yeah,
Yeah.
almost like we're filling the space. We don't need to fill the space, but we fill the space.
Right. We can just bask in being flexible.
Yeah.
So I think that's great hearing your challenges, and I think a lot of new homeschoolers are not sure, like what am I going to encounter my first year? What's that like? And as you said, you weren't planning to homeschool, and I think that's if I had a nickel for every time, I hear from a lot of people that they weren't planning this, but for whatever reason they're here now. So if that family's out there listening, what advice would you give them about starting, and especially about jumping into this journey that, maybe they didn't plan on doing?
Yeah, I think the thing that helped me was that it's not a forever decision. So I think knowing this helped me to just start. So even though like my daughter is young and I have had time to try it out in those low stakes, you can't mess up pre-K years, but just knowing and like telling myself, okay, if this doesn't work, we can make a different decision in the future. We can go year by year. Like it helped me to be okay with just giving it a try. So my family has really enjoyed the flexibility and freedom with our schedules. And like you were saying, I can easily support my daughter and things she wants to learn. We can go at her pace. Like I'm just enjoying the time that I get to spend with her, seeing her learn and like learning along with her. I just think it's so cool. So I would encourage others to give it a try if they want to. And I like curriculums. I like to follow a plan, but you don't have to. You don't have to do even that to get started. But I think if you want to try it, you definitely can.
And we always tell people like the school will always be there. They will always take you. So if you make this decision and it's not right for your family at any season, you can just call them up and say, hey, assuming there's room in your district, but if there's not, then they'll bus you to a different school. Like it will always be there. Yep. So, and if you don't try the homeschooling, you'll never know. And that's the other thing. Homeschooling will also always be there. So if you're not sure and you want to send your kid, you definitely can, and you can always homeschool later. So there's like both options are kind of always there. And I think you're right. A lot of people feel like, okay, I'm making the most important decision. Whichever way I go is what I'm committing to forever. It's the forever decision. So
I mean, it's a big deal. I mean, it is a big decision. And a lot of people, I'm sure just really care about doing a good job, and there's a lot of pressure. So I get that, but it's hard to not have that thought of like, am I making the right choice?
Right. Well, it's a lot of risk we take on because,
I always say it's the harder path. Like
it absolutely is. But if we take on all this risk of like their whole education, it's on our shoulders, and we don't want to mess it up, and we don't want to do something that's going to scar our children. I'm always saying to Matt, when something happens at home, I'm like, is this going to be the thing that our daughter is going to talk about with her therapist when she's 30? Like, my mom and dad did this,
They're so crazy.
Yeah, they were so nuts. And now here's how I feel about it, So, we don't want to screw up our kids, and we don't want to make the wrong decision. But I think that, whether you decide to homeschool or not, if you're even considering it, it's always coming from a place of love, right? We want to do the best by our kids. And maybe that's homeschool, maybe it's not. Maybe it's just doing it in the summer. Like, there's all comers. Yep. It's okay.
Definitely.
Well, thank you so much, Melissa, for joining us. And as your first year homeschooler, we wish you the best of luck going forward this year. You're going to have a fun one with the Around the World Journey.
Yeah, enjoy. It's so fun.
Yes, I'm so excited.
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thanks so much for joining us today and making us a part of your homeschool journey. Please engage with us on social media. Join our Homeschool Together podcast group on Facebook and find us at Homeschool Together Podcast on Instagram. We'd love to hear your feedback, questions, and recommendations. Until next time.
Happy homeschooling!